Good morning, Albertans. I'm posting this video on Cessco Fabrication here in Edmonton, Alberta. It's a flagship shop of the Boilermakers 146. They're an American-based trade union. They've operated in Alberta for a very long time, in North America for a very long time. I did 3 days of research here on lockouts and the term scabs to get it all right here, and to go through rule of law. So pretty fortunate. I just finished up constitutional law with some of the greatest academics in the world. Richard Albert, who's ranked in the top 10 most expert in the world, just brought me on a fabulous journey, 8-week course from Harvard, Yale, Princeton. There's a few other schools I'm driving, so I'm not going to be as detailed as I usually am. But so I had that. It was just tremendous. I've met some pretty awesome people worldwide, and I finished that course, got the certificate. It was pretty awesome. It was another part of my epic adventure, for a, small degree from a relatively unknown university, to be allowed to enter that kind of realm was something else. But what I want to get to is what I've been going through here in my hometown with Cessco Fabrication and major billionaire Amanda Hawkins. Okay, she's about a third as wealthy as Donald Trump. When you look at what assets she controls in her little empire, and she didn't build that empire, it was an inheritance. So when we talk about the rich and wealthy, obviously there's a big difference between a wealthy person who built that wealth from scratch and one who just inherited it, and the obvious dangers of somebody who inherits wealth of that magnitude, and what they're able to do with it, right? So this Amanda, she's a woman, from what I gather and the research I've been doing and the people I've been talking to. I spent a lot of time looking into just who she is, and from the sounds of it, she plays with people like a child would play with their toy dolls, like a girl would play with her Barbies, and a boy would play with his G.I. Joes or what have you. And I mean, I'm just using those examples from my own childhood. Mine was G.I. Joes and the little games you play, and Marvel characters, stuff like that. But Amanda doesn't play in her world with toys. It's people. And she spent the last few years, you can look at Canadian erectors, pretty much playing with self-made millionaires, multi-millionaires, with her vast wealth here in Canada. And she's done that in Texas and Ontario, and of course here in Alberta, and she's ruined a lot of people. We're all familiar with the term merger. If anyone isn't out there, a merger is generally when a big company, a vast company, comes in and buys a smaller company. And generally, when they do that deal, most often than not, the owner of the smaller company gets a role as lead of a division of the bigger company with their former old company, and they're offered something like that with a great salary, perks. It's all negotiated. What she does is she backstabs that person. She'll get the deal done, and their position in this new division that was guaranteed for so many years, and a salary like many companies do, well, she'll stab that multi-millionaire in the back, or that former business owner. Generally they're people who built something from the ground up. So she's been playing with people in that arena for quite some time, and now she's moved into this union environment, and she took this Cessco, which is a major shop here in Edmonton, Alberta. It's a major supplier for Western Canada and major oil field and petrochemical and power generation. The list goes on and on. So she's decided she wants to break our union, and she's going to take Cessco, the flagship. So what she's done is lock us out. Now this is what gets interesting, Albertans, what lockouts are. Now lockouts are when an employer decides to basically strike the workers. It's just like what unions do when they strike, but now it's the employer. It's completely opposite. They're basically striking the workers in a lockout. They say, we're going to give you a whole bunch of unreasonable demands that no normal, employee could or would accept. And often in lockouts, it hurts the employer. But when you're dealing with a multi-billionaire who's got lots of subsidiaries, she can actually bleed this company down for quite a while because of her vast wealth and enterprises hurting Western Canada, which is also a goal, and the East really wants to see that. So Amanda's going to bleed because it only hurts the Western regions, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. So, she's going to attack this company. She's kind of stripped it down. Already in the last 2 years, she's really starved out the employees. They've kind of, it sounds like, purposely screwed up jobs with engineering and everything else. She just doesn't care, doesn't care about how that affects the reputation of the company. She gutted all the management that was in place, very successful. Field division gutted, now she's working on the fabrication facility, and what she's done is she's brought in replacement workers. Now, for Alberta, this goes for non-union, our political party system here in Alberta. I'm going to give you what the law is in the States, brought to you by the Republican Party, which is the current administration, the Trump administration. I got emails from the GOP. I waited for that response, and I got it. And I got everything from Reagan to World War II. It'll just blow you away. So, the Americans have a two-party system. They don't have a Labor Party. That has generally been, when it comes to labor, been a fighting back and forth between the Republicans and the Democrats in the United States of America. Now, lockouts initiated by employers against employees have been going on since the 1800s. They've always been extremely violent. They've ended in mass murder. You can look this up yourself in the United States of America. I'm going to get into Canada in a little bit here, but we're going to go through the states first because they actually have laws and this stuff. Now, for conservatives who think they know all about the Republicans, you don't know a thing. Media's biases and the way people have always painted Ronald Reagan. The fact of the matter is, Ronald Reagan was a major labor supporter in the United States of America. He was a union boss in the 40s and 50s during the reign of the Democratic Party. They held power through the entire World War II. Now, Ronald Reagan had 3 strikes as union president. He orchestrated during World War time when it was illegal. He brought benefits to Hollywood, all the Actors Guild before they had benefits. You can look at the history of that. He's award-winning, actually. He's honored after his presidency. He has a labor award for that, what he did during a time when it was illegal to strike, okay? Did some pretty amazing things. So then he became president of the United States, and the left, the really extreme left, likes to throw Ronald Reagan out of the bus about how in 1981 through his presidency to 1989, in that late 80s period when he locked out, or not locked out, sorry, he locked out air traffic controllers, 11,000 employees. Now, why it was done and what laws that the U.S. used, he was the first president to push that on these 11,000 air traffic controllers because they shut down the entire United States air system, okay, which was devastating commercial business as well as military. It was national security. The problem was they were offered 11.4% raise during a really bad economic time. The 80s were terrible, and they were offered 11.4% raise over 3 years, which divided out was way more than inflation. So they were offered way more than inflation, the best raise seen by any union in the United States of America. And they said, no way, we want 4-day work weeks at a considerably more raise, 5 times the 11.4%. It was actually almost 36% overall at a reduced work week, so almost 50% raise because of less hours. And then, of course, that means you'd have to hire a whole bunch more. They would have been the most highly paid union with extra clauses that were literally obscene comparatively to any labor group or any organization. And when they refused to take the even better deal than any union could have got, Ronald stepped in and said, no way, and he enacted national security, and he scrapped the union, and of course everybody ran with that. They didn't look at his history or what it was about. So now, every lockout initiated by an employer in history of the United States has been met with no less than 9 lives lost, upwards of 25 lives lost. In fact, in one lockout in a town in the States, they marched what they call the scabs, which is people who cross a picket line, a lockout picket, when the company forces the lockout. This isn't the union guys striking, it's the company saying, take a reduced package, meaning we're going to take away your benefits, your security, everything we've paid into for you or you've paid on yourself out of your wage package, and we're going to steal that money from you, and you take it or get lost, we're going to replace you, which was made illegal in the United States. So in history in the United States, these 25 scabs, what they're called, people who walk over those people to work for the employer, were put at gunpoint, marched out, and shot and executed, and they were killed. So they went to court, and all the union employees were found not guilty by jury, and that was precedent. There's many cases like this from both sides. Employers hiring people, they call them bone breakers, but in World War II, it was they were executionists too, right? So it's gone back and forth. It's always been deadly violent. For the public to understand just what a lockout is, it's when the employer wants to reduce your wages to an amount that's not reasonable, steal your pension plans that you vested into, meaning the employees paid into that. So here we are in Edmonton, Alberta with the Boilermakers. These guys have been vested in a pension for a considerable amount of time. It's their money, their contributions off their wage. Now the employer wants to basically say, we're going to take that money, we're going to defund it by 50%. Amanda wants to take it. It's unreasonable. It's not her money, but she wants it defunded off of their package. And health and welfare too, so your benefits, for your family, your basic medical, dental, eye care, they want all that scrapped. And she wants a 10% reduction in wage. She let the contract expire. She reduced the working hours to starve the guys. Many companies are doing this to keep their employees, but Amanda used this opportunity to cut them to 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, at 40-hour work weeks, basically. So the guys got to live on 80 hours for the last year. There's guys with, 3, 4, 5 kids, family environment, steady work, not great pay, but, the benefits are there for the family. So she forced these family guys and ladies to basically, she locked them out, saying we're taking it all away. And of course, people are vested in that pension plan, have no choice but to say, basically, fuck you, we're not going to do it. And she locked the doors on him, right? It's unreasonable. It's an employer-pressed issue. Now, in Canada, I can't find any precedent on this stuff. There's been major lockouts before, but no legal action, no, besides violence, there's been murders, but not, one or two, and some violence, but there's no real legal precedent that I've found. I've reached out in Canadian law, but the Republicans have shared, and the GOP have shared the law that employers, it's illegal in the United States for employers to lock you out by reducing benefits and or your social securities. And that's exactly what Amanda's doing. So, generally no president or no Congress or no Senate in the United States has ever allowed an employer in the United States to ever replace you with workers if it's over social security benefits, which is your pension, and extreme wage loss, right? And vice versa for striking, if it's the employer striking, just like Ronald Reagan did in the States. There's another law, and I'm driving, so I can't recall that, but there's another law for the opposite, striking. So presidents or Congress can enact this, or even Senate can push it and get it into Congress if they want to pass it in the United States. Now, Canada, I have found nothing of the sort, nothing. So, it's illegal in BC, it's illegal in Quebec, but Alberta, nothing. So, with human rights at a 15.6% unemployment rate, they're basically hitting us like the Great Depression here. And that led to murder, just like World War II was the same thing. It led to some major murders, major violence. Unemployment rates of that magnitude are human rights violations, according to the UN Declaration of Human Rights, which is world law, grafted by the United States, accepted and grafted by China, accepted and grafted by Russia, accepted and grafted by UK, accepted and grafted by France. That's the United Nations Security Council. Those countries have made that world law, and every nation in the world signed it. So when you have a region inside a country like Canada who just lost their Security Council seat by so many major votes, which I called this out for more than a year, even though media ignored it. I mailed into every major media source. I said we could not get a United Nations Security Council seat. I said why. These union rights, this lockout laws, which is respected in the United States of America and has been protected since the 1800s, but was made and ratified in 1948, which is absolute, and no president, no Congress or Senate has ever violated that. And it's insane that this can go on in Canada and what's happening in my city. So you guys are going to witness me go into a lockout here, and it's going to get pretty hairy. I'm going to pause the video. I hope this is, educational for people. I hope my speech here is going okay because I'm driving. I'm trying to focus, but I'm going to pause, and we're going to get into it here, and you're going to see some pretty graphic language. We're going to curse out what they're called scabs, and I promise you this can get pretty violent if it's uncontested. And I don't know with UCP, NDP, and Liberal, the three major parties here in Alberta. Liberal's kind of a joke, but they're registered federally. I am so disgusted with Canada and where things have gone with every major party. I just find, how come the Republican Party is going to, share all this stuff with me, and what you hear in media, or you hear from the loony left or the extreme right or the Canadian parties in general or media doesn't match what is. This is right out of the GOP and the Republican Party. which is the GOP, but the Trump administration. Like, I'm completely baffled and at a loss for words, you know. In my own country, I can't get anything on this stuff, and it's just like, oh, you know, you're on your own. Oh, and where's our rule of law? Where's our human rights, right? It's like this with everything I dig into. It's just, I'm so disgusted with Canada. The more I go, the more I hate it. The more I explore the world, the more I really start to hate my own country. And I got to really look at India, and they're growing so fast, so rapidly, maturing, and we're a freaking joke. Canada's a joke. But we'll see here, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I'm not going to let the Boilermakers, my union, go down the toilet. I'm not going to be a victim of some billionaire bitch, really. You know, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to let the East destroy the West, and they will. This Amanda is just, you know, more of the East taking over the West, buying out our companies, bankrupting them, bankrupting our organizations. We are an ecosystem here in Alberta and Western Canada, and we always get pillaged. I can go through so much in a timeline through Pierre Elliott Trudeau. The same stuff happened in the 80s with the unemployment and the abuse. So gotta let you go. I gotta get to this picket, and we're gonna get back to this video. So get ready, it's gonna get hairy here.